It is interesting that out of the 38 parables of Christ, 16 of them have something to do with our resources. Today, I would like us to look at the parable of the rich young man in Matthew chapter 19 from verse 16 to 22 and focus on the principles of managing our resources. The first principle is that our resources, our money, should be acquired according to God's principles. We really do not know how the rich young man had acquired his wealth. But verse 22 says, when the young man heard what Jesus told him, he went away sad because he had great wealth. Maybe the rich young man had inherited his wealth from his family. Maybe he was running a successful business. Or maybe he had made his great wealth through corrupt deals. We really do not know. But he had great wealth. It is unfortunate that in our world today, many people do not care how they make money. All that matters to them is wealth, is money, regardless of how it is made. And that is unfortunate. Some get it through inheritance, of course. Others get it through sheer hard work, while others get it through corrupt deals. And it's a shame that others go even to the extent of killing in order to make money, in order to make wealth. Well, as much as different people make wealth in different ways, I believe that money should be made, should be earned according to God's principles. And God's primary way of making money, God's primary way of getting resources is through hard work. Whether you are employed somewhere or you are self-employed, you can acquire resources through working hard. Don't just lazy around hoping to hit the jackpot in that lottery sometime and become a millionaire. Don't just lazy around hoping that one day you will be walking by the roadside and pick a huge amount of money and become rich. Don't lazy around and imagine that one day you will bump into some gold in your backyard. Proverbs chapter 14 and verse 23 says, all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. Folks, God will bless the work of your hands and provide for you as you apply his principle of hard work. Well, the second principle is that our resources should be used to serve God's purposes. We need to guard against allowing what God has entrusted to us becoming a stumbling block, especially when it comes to our relationship with him. Verse 22. When the young man heard this, he went away with a fallen face. He went away sad because he had great wealth. The rich young man valued his earthly possessions so much that he walked away instead of obeying Christ and having his treasure in heaven. He held so tightly to what he had and forfeited the greater gift that could have been his. Dear ones, Instead of holding tightly to our possessions, we should use the resources God has placed in our hands to serve Him and His purposes, to do His work and to serve His purposes on earth. And I challenge us not to hold so tightly to the material possession God has entrusted in our hands. Instead, we need to be generous in our giving and use the resources the Lord has entrusted to us. Use the resources the Lord has given us, to support His work and partner with Him in fulfilling the Great Commission here on earth. That is why we need to, faithfully give of our tithes and offerings and be generous. Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 9 says, "Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops." Yes, our resources should be acquired according to God's principles. They should also be used to serve God's purposes, and they should also be used to serve God's people. In verse 21, Jesus told the rich young man, if you want to be perfect, go sell your possession, give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me. We need to think about others, the less privileged in the society. Listen, dear ones, what God has entrusted to you is not only for you, it is for other people as well. As we give, we meet people's needs. They rejoice. They have a reason to rejoice before God. And we also rejoice and we are refreshed. It's no wonder Proverbs 11 verse 25 says, "A generous man will prosper. He who refreshes others will himself be refreshed." Friends, let us learn to use the resources God has entrusted to us to serve His people. How I pray that our resources shall be acquired according to God's principles. How I pray that we shall use our resources to serve God's purposes. And how I pray that we shall use our resources to serve God's people.